again. I'm John Cole-Morgan from iQuilt here in the UK. I'm so pleased to be curating this amazing exhibition, Voices in Cloth. And today we're joined by a very, very special guest because Zelda Connock was our very, very first quilt that we had in. You were the start of it all, Zelda. Welcome. It's lovely to have you.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here.
Zelda, tell us a little bit about you and where you live.
I'm Zelda Connock. I'm from Johannesburg. I've been living here for 30 years and originally from the Eastern Cape, where all the friendly people come from, Port Elizabeth.
And whereabouts in Joburg are you?
We're in Robindale, which is in Randburg.
And tell me, how did you get into quilting?
My journey started about in 2010 when a friend was wanting to do a sampler quilt that was being offered at our local Bernina shop. And at that stage, I was heavily involved in scrapbooking. Scrapbooking was what I did. I thought, what do I want to do about quilting? What do I know? So I said, no, it's fine. We'll spend some time together. I'll come. And I was totally hooked. I was totally confused by all these different words that were coming through. But I systematically fell in love with quilting. So, and I'm still strong.
How did you start? What was the first?
It was a sampler quilt by Jenny Smith, who I now still go to on a Tuesday morning. And I go and sew, not necessarily to do everything that they do, but I love the sense of community that quilters have. You chat, you get involved. If you don't know something, someone's always around to try and help you in the right direction. So that's what I just love about quilting. Look, it's an expensive hobby, but it doesn't have to be. You make it work for you. It's just, I love quilting. And that was a sampler quilt, so it's lots of different blocks. I look at it now and I think, Zelda, what were you thinking? These browns and burgundies and creams, which isn't me. I love all the bright colors nowadays. So that was where it started.
But I love that because that's how our journeys start, that we start with the colors that we think we should be using and then just evolve to find our own voice. What do you think is the best bit about quilting for you?
You're never bored. You're never bored. If I think of back to COVID, where everybody was shut in and couldn't do anything, they were in South Africa mostly. We were, and I'm sure in England as well, everybody was confined to their houses. We couldn't even go outside to do exercise. There was not a moment that I thought, oh, woe is me. What am I going to do today? Go into your craft room, rip out some fabric, finish those UFOs that have been sitting there for years. So that's what I love about quilting. It's an engaging hobby, and you can do it by yourself, but you get to spend time with wonderful other quilters.
It's amazing. And what do you think is the worst bit about quilting?
There's never enough time. Because you know what, we all get bored. We start with a project. That's me. I don't know if everybody's like that, but I start a project. I'm hell-bent. This is going to be finished. And then I get a little bit bored with it, and I think, okay, what can I do next? And so you start another project. So then you think, no, but I'm supposed to still finish that one. But then you carry on with the next one, and then you go back. So you can never get bored because you're going backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. Sometimes you will. You'll start something and you'll finish it because there's a deadline to it. I'm an old ICU nurse, so I work very well under pressure. And so when I know I've got to finish something, that's the time that I get down and do it. But otherwise, you just sit and you sew and you long arm. It's the most wonderful thing.
Tell us a little bit about your long arming journey, because that's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, it is. I always used to send out the quilts for someone else to quilt. And then I took a break from quilting because life got in the way. I had kids at school, and so there wasn't sufficient time and also finances because private schooling is expensive up here, everywhere. And so I took a little bit of a break from it and then started in fury again in about 2014, 2015, made quilts, made a lot of quilts to give away, never for myself, always to give away for the children. And then in 2014, 2015, Bernina were having a special. And it was the Grace frame and the little Nina. And I said to my husband, how about it? It's just this tiny little machine. Have we got the space? We'll move everything aside in the dining room and put this machine in. And I fell in love with being able to do this whole process myself. And then at 2019's festival, I got a second-hand Avante. And I love that machine. She is just beautiful. Her name is Annie. because my mother's name was Anna, and so she's just a little Annie, and I sew on her. I do a lot of long arming. Took a bit of a break. I've got a little business that I do, mostly pantos and some custom for customers, but lots of charity quilts while I was studying. And it just gives me such a sense of accomplishment when you've started the process right through to the end. I still don't like putting on bindings, but I do them.
So many people hate the binding. With the long arming side of things, because I have a handy quilter as well, and I do think it
Yes,
does evolve your quilting journey when you can actually do the piecing and then you can put it on the long arming, because long arming is a lot easier than doing it on a domestic machine, and it's just, I
definitely.
find it a lot easier. And the
Yeah.
Avante, you're not messing around. You went straight
No,
to the
it's
top.
no, that's the little one. So
Oh,
they don't
sorry,
even
let me do that
make
again.
the Avante anymore. Yeah, no, that is the
That's the
fusion.
Infinity. I always get
Yeah,
confused because
you
I'm in the
got an
middle. I've got
Amara, I
the
see.
Amara. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, at that stage, my finances could afford that. And now I'm going to be 62 this year. So I will keep what I've got because I know her and I know her sounds and her ins and outs. And I've had wonderful classes and joint classes with Claire and then with Talene, Claire Wallace, Talene Jeffrey, absolutely amazing quilters. They are just the best. So, yeah, they've helped it because, in the beginning, you second guess yourself. You never think you're good enough to do this.
What do you
And
mean
then
in
you
the beginning? What do you
still
mean in the
hey.
beginning?
Yes. Because you're always second guessing because you compare yourself to others. And that's the worst little space to get into because if we play that comparison game, we're never going to get ahead of ourselves. We're going to need to get out of our heads and get on with life. So, yeah, I do love the long arming.
Do you actually long arm for other people as well?
Yes, I do. I've done some custom for ladies. There's a lady in George. I did one of her custom, and she came second in their little festival with my quilting there.
So you're an award-winning long armer. That's amazing.
Yes, well, that's my only little accolade. But you know what?
Hardly little.
I enjoyed quilting for her. It was the Little Otaniqua Festival, which I'm looking forward to be part of. I mustn't say little, because actually what the George ladies do is quite amazing. So we're hoping to move there at some stage. So I'm
Wow.
hoping to get involved with their guild as well.
Now tell me, how did you become involved with this? Because obviously you were the first submission, so you were right off the ball with getting this done. Tell us a little bit about how you got involved with our Voices in Cloth project.
I'd seen it on Facebook and people were talking about it, but no one had really, people started joining and there was talk. And I thought, well, Zelda, you've committed to something. Doesn't matter how busy you are. You need to just get down and do something. And then I struggled. What is my voice? What do I want to say? And then I realized, you know what? It's about quilting. It's about the love, not just the love we have for quilting, but the love we have for our fellow human beings, for God in my case, and for my faith. My faith is very important to me. So I thought, oh, well, let's just see what we can come up with. And I've got a Husqvarna embroidery machine. So I thought, okay, let's look if we can do some embroidery because handwork and we get on, but not that well. So then I designed a little thing in my digitizing software with the faith, hope, and love. And I thought, okay, it's got to be out of here. What does the cross signify to me? The radiance of God. So let's have radiating lines. Chose some colors, had to be red. And so I just put it together. So that was my journey with
I love the
this.
way I just put it together. You can tell a professional award-winning quilter, can't you?
Yeah, what? I mean, I've seen some of the work that's come in. There are some phenomenal works. And we're very talented. South Africans are very talented.
But it's been very humbling because, we've got all the big names have put in. We've got
Yes.
Talene, we've got Tilly de Harder, we've got Paul Scooter,
Yes.
we've got Master Quilter Joy Clark. We've got so many
Yes.
incredible quilters have submitted.
Yeah.
And what do you think will come from this project?
Well, I think with you have got an amazing personality. You just seem to be so friendly and so engaging.
Only when I've had coffee.
Join the club. But I think people want to be involved. And typical South Africans, we are number 99 people, but we get the job done.
Don't
because
you
I
just?
think, yeah, we all get involved in our lives and we think, oh, I've still got to do that. And then when push comes to shove, We just get on board and we show what we're made of. We are hardy people, South Africans.
Why do you think we as South Africans need to actually explain ourselves in the quilting world?
Because I think everybody misjudges Africa as a whole. They seem to, this might sound mean, but the Americans in particular, they've got their 50 different states. So it's what they do in states. They seem to not get the concept that Africa is not South Africa. Every country in Africa has got its own quality, and there's just so much to learn from all the Africans. We've traveled extensively in Africa and in America. So I remember sitting at a tango show in Buenos Aires with two ladies from New York.
Right.
And I knew more about their country than they knew about their own country. And I thought, how can you be so ethnocentric? You need to know about what's going on in the world. Because for me in particular, as a Christian, that focuses my prayer life. So I like to know what's going on in the rest of the world, because that is who I am. Nobody else is necessarily the same, but that's where I'm coming from. So Africans, I think we've got a durability and a stickability that other people maybe don't have. I don't know.
I have a very silly story, but my favorite question from an American, or two favorite stories. One of them said, "Where are you born?" And I said, "Zimbabwe in Africa." And she said, "You can't be African." And I looked and said,
Yes.
"Why?
Yeah.
You're not black." Like, okay,
Yeah.
not even going down that road. But my favorite question was in Manhattan, in a bookstore, in Barnes and Noble, and I was looking at the books, and I was looking at something about, I don't know whether it was a travel guide about South Africa, something, I can't remember what I was looking at, and this woman came up, asked me a question, I'd responded, and she says, "Where's your accent from?" And I said, "I'm from South Africa." "You're from Africa? Oh, what's the capital of Africa?"
Yes. Yeah.
"Buy an Atlasville."
Yes. I mean,
She didn't
really,
get it.
there's,
She didn't get it. But then again, she asked me what the capital of Africa was, so I don't know why I'm.
yes.
But
Yeah.
it is that I do understand that the statistics are shocking. Like 70% of Americans have never left their own state.
I
Can you
know.
imagine spending 70% of the population of South Africa never having gone to Durban or Cape Town?
Yes.
Left,
Yeah.
if you live in Pretoria, you've never left Pretoria. It's
Yes.
not that
Yeah, we
Pretoria
were,
is a state, you know what I mean.
yes. We were on the Canadian side of the Niagara Falls, and my husband was speaking to the lady at the front desk. And she's got a friend who lives 15 miles from Niagara Falls, and she has never seen Niagara Falls. Now, my mind boggles at things like that because,
And we fly
yeah,
around the world to go and see one of the most beautiful Oh, it's bizarre.
yes, yeah. We're all different. So
We
we've
are.
got to embrace those differences, but really get out of yourself and get to know what's going on all over the place.
I think it's the only way we grow as people. I think
Yes,
whatever part of the world you're from, whoever you are, it works better having knowledge of other people. Everywhere you travel,
definitely.
you always learn something from them.
Yeah, because we tend to, people just see the bad side of South Africa, the crime and the poverty and the whatever. That's what you tend to hear from outside voices, but they've never actually been here and experienced it for themselves. So we've got a lot to offer as South Africans.
What do you think makes South African quilters different to the quilters that you've met in the rest of Africa and around the world?
Yeah, I think for a long time, um, I've only been involved for a short time. So I've learned a lot about previous quilters and how there wasn't the fabrics and the imports and all those type of things. So I think we're a make-do type of nation. You get what you can and you make what you want to. So you've got to learn. We're very frugal as well. I think those are South Africans. And so you use and reuse.
That was what quilting was when it started.
Yes. Yeah. If you look at the crazy quilts from way back when and all these, I mean, I cannot imagine putting all these little, lace and things on quilts, but everybody does things in their way. So I think we've got a lot of wonderful South African fabrics in the shweshwes that we've got. So if that's your jam, that's what you do. But wow, the fabrics from overseas are just beautiful. And they're just very costly. So I think that keeps people back sometimes. But you know what? You scrimp and save and you buy that fabric that you want.
Who do you actually make quilts for?
I make for family. I've got this little thing when people like our one secretary left. So I made her a quilt. It says, take this with you. Remember me. Every time you look at it, think to just say a little prayer for me, because Zelda made that quilt for me because she loves me and she wants to show her love. I'm not a very vocal type of person. I like to show people that I love them. And to me, making a quilt for someone is so much of myself that I put in that, and then they can envelop themselves in it. So for family members, charity quilts, I have made quite a few charity quilts that have been donated, but mostly I have quilted. I think between last year and the year before, I did 16 charity quilts that I quilted for the different groups that I belong to. And then they were donated to, we went to a retirement village, old age home. You can't really call it one of the poorer old age homes in Primrose in Johannesburg. And I'm part of the GRG, Golden Rand Quilters Guild. I'm part of their committee. So a group of us went out there, spent the morning with people in an old age home, engaged with them, held their hands, chatted to them, just loved them, and then shared quilts with them. So that gives me a lot of joy when I can give away. I think I've made one quilt for myself so far.
Well, that was my next question. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I've made that sampler quilt from way back when. And then I'm trying to think, Diana van der Jaar, amazing quilter. She does with Good Hope Quilters Guild. She does that mystery quilt. And I'd never done mystery quilts. And then a few years ago, I'd been collecting calf fabric. I love calf fabric. But you collect fabric and you don't want to use it because it's too pretty. Don't want to cut it up. And I thought, okay, here's a mystery quilt. Let me do it for the first time. So I made that quilt for myself, shades of pinks and oranges, and I arranged it in a pleasing way so that it looks like the pink going into the orange, going into the green, going into the purple. And that I'm waiting for when this house goes on show at the end of the year. That is going to be my quilt on my bed, because I want people to look at the quilt and say, oh, this is a different type of house. So that is the one I've made for myself. And then I've made a row by row. And that's just my quilt that I use in winter. When we're watching TV and you want to snuggle, that's the one I use. For the rest, it's giveaways.
Who are your quilting inspirations?
Oh, that's actually quite difficult. Because, with Pinterest, you go down rabbit holes.
Now, I have a rule with Pinterest. This will change your life. I don't know if you want to do it or not. Because I remember having started my Pinterest journey, and within, I assume, about 4.5 lifetimes, I was still on Pinterest looking for something. And I found myself down a rabbit hole of mushroom risotto recipes. And I don't even like mushrooms. I don't hate them. I just don't like them.
Yes.
I was down this rabbit hole for ages looking at this, and I thought, you set a timer.
Yes.
15 minutes. And if you're still looking at what you're supposed to be looking at, you can reset the timer.
Yes.
But if you're not, you're off. You've got to go up because
that's
it's such
very
a
clever.
rabbit hole.
Yeah. So ladies like Charisma Horton, she's an American lady, does very distinctive. I've never made one of hers, but I love looking at what she's engaged in. And she's got a farm, and she's got a shed on this farm that's painted pink, and she's got chickens. So that just appeals to me. She's a different type of lady. Go and have a look.
I'm going to say I love her already.
Yeah. And then we've got involved with Modern Quilt Studio. So I bought their summer quilt pattern from last year, and we're slowly doing that. So I love what they do in the modern sphere. I don't know. Becky Goldsmith. Do you know Becky Goldsmith? Piece of cake. I mean, she has got the most beautiful applique things. So
I sell the magical unicorn pattern in my shop. It's glorious.
Yes. No, I've been working on one of hers as my quilt entry this year, just in open, because she had a pattern with 9 little patterns. And so I sent her a message. I said, look, this is too small I make at least a single bed quilt. I've designed 3 other blocks. If it detracts from your quilt, no, she says, go right ahead. They add so much. So that's what I'm working on. So, I don't have heroes per se. I do follow Angela Walters with the free motion that she does. Tula Pink is absolutely phenomenal because of the bright fabrics that she does and the EPPs and that. But I just, as the wind blows, I
Best way
grab
to
on.
do it.
Yes.
I love it. So what do you think's next for you on your quilting journey?
Quilt and quilt and quilt, because I really missed doing that last year. I didn't want to commit to doing too many customer quilts because I'd undertaken to do this course and I wanted to do it to the best of my ability. So my days were spent researching and writing. And so now that that's over, I can quilt for people. I've got clients coming to see me. And the other thing on my agenda is to go overseas with my husband again. He went to the Seychelles and Argentina last year, and I stayed at home because I didn't want to take my focus off. So I want to travel this year, but quilting for other people and doing my own thing.
Are you going to festival this year?
Yes. I've signed up for quite a few classes. I spoke to Talene yesterday to ask her about her ink tense class. And so she was telling me a little bit. So I said, okay. I came home, signed up, paid, and so I'm doing hers as well. So it's going to be wonderful to be surrounded by people who just love to do what we do.
Well, is there anything that I haven't asked you that you may like to discuss?
No, this has actually been wonderful. If I think I scared, I was to sit on camera here. But we might be having a cup of tea and just chatting,
And that's what it is, because that's what I want people. I think people, when they're the most comfortable, you talk most about yourself, and that's what people want to know is who is the person behind this gorgeous quilt.
Yeah, because it's difficult to speak about yourself. But, when you ask questions, you can at least engage a little bit in that way.
And you did brilliantly. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Zelda. It's been an absolute pleasure. That brings us to the end of this installment. Zelda, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, John. I'm looking forward to seeing you at the festival. Want to come and meet you at least.
Can't wait. If I forget who you are, it's nothing personal. I can never remember people's names. So just introduce yourself first.
Perfect.
And that brings us to the end of another wonderful installment. Have a good one, and we'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you, John. Bye-bye. Hi there, I'm Zelda Connock. I'm from Randburg in Johannesburg. My quilt is called Faith, Hope and Love, and it's from the passage in 1 Corinthians, which is what my life is about. My love, my faith in God, my love for people around me, and then my love of quilting. Thank you very much.